My name is Garland Favorito. I'm a career IT professional. I have over 40 years of information technology experience. I co-founded the nonpartisan Voter GA, Voters Organized for Trusted Election Results. 16 years ago, we've been leading the election integrity effort here in Georgia ever since. I wanted to take about 30 seconds to tell you how we got here, just to remind you. Last year, the U.S. District Court banned the old DBO DRE system as unconstitutional because it lacked verifiability, auditability, and recount capability. That is exactly what I told the Assistant Secretary and the system evaluators in 2002, 17 years earlier. That ruling last year overturned the Georgia Supreme Court ruling against us in 2009. And last year, the Georgia General Assembly legalized the new unverifiable voting systems that hide the votes in QR codes. The Secretary of State purchased Dominion Democracy Suite 5.5, BMD system for ballot marking device, and then the U.S. District Court found that it does not meet Georgia law just recently in regards to verifiability. So the question you probably want to know is, what were my roles in the 2020 election? Fast forward. I was the State Farm Arena observer. I'm going to walk you through that, and glad to answer any questions about that. I was a Fulton tabulation observer at the warehouse over there. I was an audit monitor. I was a recount monitor. And I also, as my role in the Constitution Party of Georgia as elections director, we coordinated hundreds of volunteers in dozens of counties to monitor the recount and the audit. As a Fulton County tabulation observer, I noticed an abnormal 20,000 vote spike for Joe Biden. I notified the elections director, the board, and the county attorney about that. I made an ORR request, open records results, for the interim results, but never received a response. As an audit monitor, we noticed 3 boxes and stacks on tables of 100% Biden ballots. That is mathematically, if not impossible, it is improbable beyond the nth degree. We also had 4 auditors that detected potentially fraudulent ballots that Javon talked about earlier. These they were not creased from being mailed, they were not marked with writing instruments, and there were differences in ballot stock. I immediately filed an open records request to view those ballots in the custody of the elections department with Fulton County, contacted all the same people at Fulton County again, attorneys, board members, and so on, but my request was ignored. So I know some of you might be asking, why are we here? Haven't we counted these votes 3 times? Well, the original election results accumulated votes that were hidden in a barcode. That barcode is 100% unverifiable to the voters in the state of Georgia. The recount, according to the State Election Board rule, rescans the barcode, which simply reprints the previous unverifiable results. A recount is meaningless in the state of Georgia, according to SEB rules. You might say, well, we had a full hand count audit, didn't we? And yes, we did, and yes, that would have been a good thing. However, there were 3 fatal flaws in the hand count audit. First one was, in most counties, they did not separate and have a Democrat and Republican sitting at each table. Some counties did it right, most of them, some of them did not. The data upload point, where all the data goes in from those hand counts, was not monitored. In some counties, such as Fulton, they did not want that spot to be monitored. The third problem, which you've heard earlier, and I won't elaborate on from Mr. Cochran, the counties were forced to enter the data into the Secretary of State system. And the Secretary of State told them what the results were from their own audit. The counties, as you heard earlier, have no result totals for their own audit. So elections, which are always reported from the bottom of our precincts to county and state, in this case, the state actually reported the results results of the audit top down. That's an issue. Any one of those three fatally flawed it. There were lots of other monitor problems I'm not going to go into. The 6-foot distancing restriction basically made monitoring meaningless. You couldn't get close enough to look at a ballot or anything else. In addition, we, as Constitution Party of Georgia monitors, were refused access in Fulton and Cobb counties, even though we had a qualified write-in candidate on the presidential ticket. We think that's a violation of law. I want to quickly go through the Dominion system anomalies very fast, and I'll close with State Farm, which I think is what you're very interested in. Spalding County had an update, according to the elections director, on election eve to the poll books. That update caused nearly a 2-hour delay on election day at Spalding County. The update was not reflected in the audit trail, according to the Secretary of State, which is a problem technically. What was the response to this? Well, our response was, let's do a forensic exam on the no-ink poll books. That would be the obvious thing to do. The Secretary of State attempted to get the elections director, Marcia Ridley, fired. In Coffee County, you've already heard about that. I won't go into that. They ran 3 recounts and obviously erroneous numbers on all 3 recounts. First time they found 39 votes for the same number of ballots. Then the second one, they added 185 ballots and it didn't change the count. The third time they ran it again, still couldn't get it to run. 3 recounts, 5 total counts. The Dominion text you already heard could not solve the problem. The board provided 13 megabytes of documentation to the Georgia House Committee to explain all of this, as Kathy did earlier. So what's the response? Our response was, let's do a forensic exam. Somebody's got to do a forensic exam on the Coffee County server. The Secretary of State decided to open an investigation into the county for the problem that the Dominion machines caused. And now I want to go to Ware County. The system flipped 37 votes from President Trump to former Vice President Biden. That's a fact. I know you've heard that it's not true. I'm going to talk about that. How do we know that that happened? This was discovered by Dr. Earl Martin, a Waycross City Commission candidate. He notified me about this problem, and we got the certified election results from the county. We got the published hand count results for the same number of ballots, and they confirmed 37 votes were in fact shorted from President Trump and added to Joseph Biden, the former vice president, in Ware County, according to the results. And we got that in writing from the elections director of Ware County. I put that in an unrebutted affidavit with the attachments and the possible explanations so that there could be no dispute about that. That's the only unrebutted affidavit for this entire episode that occurred. So what was the response to this one? We suggested there needs to be a forensic exam, and I know even at least one of the senators here attempted to get a forensic exam on this machine. It still has not been done. Instead, the Secretary of State sent a threatening letter to the counties to tell them not to allow forensic exams on Dominion machines. Now, you might have heard the fact check on this that says that this was false. Let me address that. This came from USA Today. They said that this was false. They had my press release. It had my phone number on it. They never called me. They dropped something into a box that we never checked and told us, well, we decided that your press release is false. They never got any facts. They didn't get the affidavit. And I called them up, and I told them what they had done wrong, and we had a long conversation about that. They offered to print my rebuttal, and then they didn't print my rebuttal because it was pretty blistering. So the USA Today lied. The fact check is a lie, and my unrebutted affidavit stands as the only thing that was held up in a court of law about Ware County. 37 votes flipped from Trump to Biden. That's a fact, and nobody can dispute that yet in a court of law. And I want to go to State Farm. This is what I was there at State Farm Arena, and I know it's hard to understand. I'm not going to go through the chronology because I know you don't have time for that, but I want to just point out to the fact that this room is curved. It's just like this desk. You can't see around the corner. You don't know what's going on. There are multiple violations here of Georgia law: the curvature of the room, the monitor positioning. You were over in a left-hand corner, in the back left-hand corner. You can't see around the corner what's going on in the right-hand corner. There's a skirted table. That's another violation. Hidden ballot bags, stopping and restarting the scanning. I've got the code sections up there. Those are some of the violations of Georgia law, which I'm sure you folks are familiar with. Immediately after those ballots were scanned, within 40 minutes, by the time they got over and tabulated them at the warehouse, the election line feed jumped up with, as you can see in the yellow here, 136,000 votes for Joe Biden appeared after that, 29 for Trump. There's something wrong there. David Cross is going to go into more detail with about that, the line feeds. He's coming up next. So I'm going to skip over that. Now I want to spend some time, though, however, on debunking the debunkers. There's a few questions that we have heard from the Secretary of State's office, a few statements. Did the monitors decide to leave on their own? We've heard this over and over. Well, the video shows the announcement where they cease scanning for the evening. You can see that clearly. Videos don't usually lie. There are two affidavits from the monitors that confirm what you see on the video. Those are sworn affidavits. The scanning appears to stop before the monitors leave, and then the monitors return after they find out that the scanning continued. The Secretary of State's office was notified one of those monitors. So the IG claiming that the monitors decided to leave on their own is completely bogus. The manager of the voting system implementation then says that this was normal ballot processing at the State Farm Arena. I beg to differ. The table was skirted to hide ballots. That's a violation of law. The ballots were not processed from the wall as normal. They were hidden under the table. The ballots were already removed from the envelopes. The envelope openers are in the room. Why were they already removed? The ballots were scanned onto memory cards after the monitors left. Another violation of law. We talked about the curvature of the room, but here's the key thing, as Jovan has already said. Multiple scanners, if you watch that video, continually rescanned the same stack of ballots. Now, that could happen if there was a problem, but as you can see from the video, they kept just running them through. They were not interacting with the machine as though there was a problem. They were simply rescanning those same stack of ballots over and over again. So there was a fact check about this one as well. Lead Stories did a fact check, another false fact check. They claimed that Watson's declaration, she was the IG, was a sworn affidavit. Those of you who know law know that a declaration has no basis in a court of law. It's not a sworn affidavit, and the Inspector General would probably never swear to what she said because she could be held accountable for perjury. So let's look, now that we have gotten through of all of the garbage that's out there and the facts that are not facts, let's look at actually what are the compelling evidence about State Farm Arena. First of all, the video evidence shows that a group of workers illegally scanned thousands of unsealed ballots and tens of thousands. They were hidden under a skirted table. There were 5 scanners. The scanners run about 3,000 ballots an hour, and they scanned for nearly 2 hours. The monitors were told scanning was stopped for the night, but it continued. Facts. 2 affidavits confirm that. The announcement that you saw on the video. There are also 3 media reports out there quoting the Fulton County Communications Director as saying that scanning was going to stop for the night. That's the evidence. Those are the facts. We had 4 affidavits from experienced auditors claiming that they handled fraudulent ballots. The election line feeds shows the huge spike in Biden votes after the scanning. We have 2 affidavits on that. And then we have Fulton County's response to all that. They terminated 2 whistleblowers, one of whom is here today to testify again. You've heard from the other one once. They kept the State Farm Arena personnel that did this on the payroll, and now they are refusing to show us the ballots, as Jovan mentioned. We have filed suit against Fulton County. We just filed it last week, and we want to inspect the ballots. We want a visual inspection of the ballots. We want the forensic exam that Jovan has described, and we want the digital ballot images and the election reports. All of that should be public, but it is not, because Georgia does not operate transparent elections, and that's got to change. We can't continue with this kind of corruption. So the Secretary of State it seems to be determined to cover up for Fulton County. That is probably disgusts me more than the cheating that went on. So I want to close with a nonpartisan perspective. I want to just make it clear, I did not vote for either one of these 2 candidates that we're talking about. I'm elections director of the Constitution Party. We ran our own candidate. He was a write-in candidate named Don Blankenship. I voted for him, as did Dr. Earl Martin down in Waycross. Neither one of our votes were counted. If you look at the official statements of records, even though he was a qualified candidate, our votes are gone and missing, and we have sued the county, Fulton County, over that as well. I didn't vote for them. I just want to appeal both to my Republican friends here and my Democrat friends. We were here last year, and again, I appreciate you taking the time for me. My appeal is to the Republican friends. House Bill 316 was one of the worst bills that the legislature's ever passed. I apologize, but that's what got us here. And to my friends who are Democrats, this deal is real. We've got to do something about it, because Georgia electors belong to the President of the United States. And with that, I'll take any questions.